Gary DeLaune, the longtime San Antonio journalist who spent 28 years with KENS 5, has passed away. DeLaune spent 6 decades in the news industry, working in television and radio and covering everything from Dallas Cowboys games to San Antonio high school sports.
Among his many distinctions, DeLaune was the first person to report on the assassination of John F. Kennedy.
Deborah Knapp joins us now. She had the pleasure of working with Gary for many years.
That's right, and Deb, you two kept in touch after he retired, right?
We did. We worked together for 20 years, and we just had lunch recently. And he was just an original guy. He loved people and telling their stories, and he had an unforgettable way of doing it. He once did a story in a wash tub. He was known for his loud, colorful sports jackets, and he never stopped working. The 88-year-old was calling high school football games just months ago.
Oh, this is sky high. It goes up to the clouds.
Gary DeLaune covered the pros and college teams, but said high school was the best.
I call it the national sport of Texas, high school football.
This past fall, Gary celebrated 62 years of calling high school football games.
It was never work to him. It was always just something that he was incredibly passionate about.
Gary's son Shannon said his father made everyone feel important.
We always laughed and said that was kind of his superpower, is finding something amazing about everybody that he met.
The legendary broadcaster got his start in radio. Gary was in Dallas in November of 1963 and was the first reporter anywhere to announce on air that President John F. Kennedy had been assassinated. And then, several days later, he reported on Jack Ruby shooting Lee Harvey Oswald as he watched it happen just feet away.
I said, here comes Captain Will Fritz leading the way with the accused assassin Lee Harvey Oswald. And I said, and then, bang! And I said, shot been fired, a shot's been fired. Lee Harvey falls, he's been shot.
Gary came to KENS 5 in 1971 and spent 28 years here. He was on the scene in 1979 when a sniper opened fire at the Fiesta Battle of Flowers parade, killing 2.
Come on up if you can, Smitty. I'd like to hear the fire. I'm going to try to get up here behind the police car. Smitty, how far can we go?
His heart was always with the common man. He distinguished himself with colorful reports.
This is Gary DeLaune, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
And loud, wild jackets.
When he retired from KENS, he came home and my mom said, well, that'll about do it with the sports coats. And most of those went to charity auctions, people who were passionate about it, that wanted those autographed, and even one guy who was buried in one.
Gary may have gotten rid of the jackets, but not the style. Here he is, Christmas of 2020. Gary covered news and sports and was a member of the San Antonio Sports Hall of Fame's class of 2015 and the Texas Radio Hall of Fame's class of 2007. But he will be remembered for how he made so many people feel.
Deborah, he loved everybody, and he had a special way of making everybody feel important because they truly were when he met them.
He was a mentor and a great friend to all of us fortunate enough to know him. And Phil and Alicia, his family tells me he was recovering from COVID when he contracted a fatal case of pneumonia.
Well, no doubt he's going to be missed by so many people in this community. Deborah, thank you so much for sharing some of those memories. I know there's a lot of good ones.
Right, my pleasure. Thank you.
And as you could tell from Deb's story, Gary DeLaune, he was well versed at many things, but maybe nothing more than his love for sports.
That's right. Gary was a fixture on the local scene for decades. His radio voice was well known to local sports fans. Vinny Vincetta is here with more reaction. Vinny.
Hey, Phil and Alicia. Gary DeLaune was a fixture on the high school athletic scene in San Antonio, especially on high school football Friday nights. His radio voice was legendary. He was an ambassador in South Texas, and he'll be missed and remembered by everyone.
That's how I remember him, and I think just about everybody that especially in the athletic world, that is going to attach him to high school sports and his broadcasts of high school games. I put him in the same line as like Keith Jackson. Keith Jackson was another one that had special things that he said in the way that they described games that I don't know if we'll ever have anybody else like that.
High school football was his passion. He would do anything to be around the game, be around the kids, be around the coaches.
He had an excitement for life and had an excitement for high school athletics that just in conversation with him, you could tell that he was a special person for sure.
The thing about Gary was just his magnetism, that everybody that he had a conversation with, you felt like he was your best friend. You know, watching Gary on the sports cast on the TV at night, getting all the information about sports, and you know, making notice of the color of his jackets and how colorful and all that was, to then years later just having that relationship with him. So I feel like I've been very blessed to have known him, and I know everybody will be. We're going to miss him more than most people know.
Thank you, Coach Molesky. Thank you, Coach Ritteman. People are remembering Gary DeLaune on social media. Herlinda Martinez-Guerra posted on our KENS 5 Facebook page, "So sorry to hear that Gary has passed away. Seeing him every day on TV made him feel like family. Rest in peace, Gary." Victoria Benavidez writes, "My prayers are with thee, DeLaune and KENS family. You had flair before it was a thing. San Antonio media has lost another legend." And radio colleague Jason Minix tweeted, "We lost a great one today. Gary was a great friend and mentor to me and many others. His career is legendary. 60 years in broadcasting. Friday nights won't be the same, but we will hear one of your colorful one-liners from the broadcast booth in the sky." Wonderful thoughts, and more appropriate for sure on this day. Casey Vieira will have more on Gary DeLaune coming up tonight at 10 o'clock.